We should be live.
Oh, look at that. I see it says this meeting is being live streamed. All right. I guess I should sit up and take note. Share screen. Well, okay, I got it. I got it, Zoom. I got it. So
I'm going to stop everybody's videos but Clyde's, so then on Zoom it doesn't come out across. Once we're done live streaming, you can go ahead and regain your video again.
Let's see if I can get a little bigger screen here. I'm looking for the chat window, and so just so everybody knows, I haven't started the recording yet, but we're live in Facebook. And Rob, I assume you put this on the company page?
Yes, sir.
And so did you put the link in the description?
Not on the company page, but I can.
Okay. So if you haven't navigated to the pixelprodisplays.com website and scrolled down to select PPD Webinar, there's a link called the PPD Webinar link. You click on that link and it will take you to this Zoom room that we're in right now. Hopefully you might have seen floating around the link that I posted a little bit earlier, that if you'd like to join, you're welcome to join. This is a webinar for pretty much anybody who is interested in learning something more about xLights. I am going to go ahead and Raven Ridge Lights asked a question in chat there. Are you doing another presentation tomorrow night? Yes, I am. So I am a glutton for punishment. So the answer is yes, I can do more. They take a lot of time. I've been working on this one since 10 o'clock this morning, and I just finished it 5 minutes ago. So I hope I do a good job. I'm going to go ahead and start the recording and we'll get going. All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the second and last February webinar of 2022. We're rolling into March here in about a week or so. And we wanted to get our webinar series taken care of, the second section done for tonight. This is going to be a pretty good webinar. There's 3 parts to tonight's webinar. So if you're watching this in the recording on YouTube, keep in mind that if you go to pixelprodisplays.com, you can always watch any of our webinars. We do record them all. We also post them online so you can watch them again. But more than that, you're welcome to join in. We have a Zoom room and we've scheduled all of our Zoom webinars out. Maybe I don't have the exact content filled in just yet because we're flexible with content and we change it and we add or we enhance it as we need to, depending on what people are asking in the groups and the kind of questions that we receive. So keep that in mind. But you're welcome to join us live in any of these. And we have the schedule posted there. So what we're going to do starting tonight, we have a 3-part webinar that we're going to think more critically about sequencing on multiple computers. And this is using xLights across different platforms. Now, I'm not talking about the Mac platform. Forgive me because I don't really know Mac. That's number one. Number two, I don't believe xLights at this time is still capable or able to run xSchedule on Mac. So, and I'm not sure about the cross-platform ability of some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. So I am doing this in Windows. So if you're running a Windows computer, by all means, consider that if you're on Mac, that maybe I might not have the answers to the questions that you may have. So keep that in mind. So where did this topic come from? Sequencing on multiple computers. Well, it's been a topic I've actually wanted to address over the past 2 years, year and a half. I went back and I started recording a video. I went and checked this. I started recording a video on this subject, but it became overly, it was too big of a topic to talk about in a small 5-minute video because there's a bunch of different layers. And that's why we're going to look at the common questions and why. Yes, to some people it's going to be easier, to other people it's going to be a little more challenging. But the common questions that we very often see in all of the groups are, how do I transfer sequences from my home computer to my laptop computer? What files are associated with sequencing whenever I sequence on my laptop instead of my desktop? And the last one, which is one of the absolute easiest things in the world to do, which you'll see tonight, is how do I run my show on an old laptop from my garage? And why is that relevant? Well, many people like to sequence on their desktop, and they don't want to run their show from their desktop computer, but they have an old laptop and they'll go run xSchedule from it. So we're going to show you how to do that tonight with these goals. These are the 3 goals for tonight. Review file associations with xLights sequences. We'll talk about file sharing services that sync files across multiple platforms, or across multiple computers, that is. We'll also talk about we'll also discuss the transfer of show files for playing on a remote computer with xSchedule. So part 1, we're just going to keep it basic, absolute basic. The basics of xLights sequence files and transfers. This was rather challenging to come up with all of the content. So there will be a question in a Q&A period at the end of this section. If you have any questions, please hold off until we get to that Q&A. I'll look in chat if somebody pops one up there, and by all means, I want to answer these, because this part, the first 2 parts are probably the most frustrating, I would think. Maybe that's the way to put it. So let's go ahead and get started with the basics of xLights files. Now, I have created a much more in-depth understanding of files inside xLights in another video. I'll try to link that video here or here, up there, whenever I get this on YouTube. So with that being said, the first thing that we're going to do is, when we talk about the file structures of xLights, we're going to go look inside your show folder. So at some point you have to have a show folder. And in this example, I have here an xLights show folder. And I don't want to go through every single part of all the files. I'm just going to go through the basic ones that we're going to need to do these file transfers. So inside this basic show folder of yours, you will have a sequence file. If you've created a sequence, it'll be called an XSQ file, or also known as a program file, and it has a little nutcracker icon, which should, if you double click on this, it should open up xLights and open that sequence. You have a backup file, I spelled typo, XBKP. You have those backup files. xLights helps maintain your file structure, and if you have a file that goes corrupt, you can always convert an XBKP file to an XSQ file or to an XML file, which will restore or give you a chance to go back to a previously used version if you happen to have a corrupted copy. These are auto-generated too, by the way. Also, xLights, we have a couple other files. The most important ones, I think, are the controller file and the layout file. This is your xlights_networks.xml, which is here. And then you have your xlights_RGB effects file. So your network is, think of the tabs in xLights, and you have a controller tab and you have a layout tab. The network tab would be your controller tab, and the RGB effects would be considered your layout. So that's where those come from. And then other related sequence files that you may not be aware of, but you might, that are necessary for you to find and gather, would be sequences, would be things such as videos, images, shaders, and music tracks. So you would want to keep these all in one folder, obviously. And whenever you have a sequence, it only contains data. It doesn't contain any files. For example, what I mean by sequences contain data, not files, where I have this file here, it's called test sequence. This test sequence only has sequence data in it. It doesn't have files in it. So therefore, when you want to transfer a sequence, you need to grab all of the sequence files that are attached to that sequence in order to recreate it on your other computer. So again, the goal here is we want to take from our computer and we want to move from our computer to, let's say, a laptop and sequence the same sequence on a laptop. And that's what we're going to do. So these are the basics of the file structure that you need to know. And the next thing we're going to talk about is how do we transfer all these files? The options for manually transferring files, manually copying all related files for that specific sequence. You need to have the RGB effects file, which we said is your layout. You have to have your network file, which is your controller tab. You have to have your any shaders, any XSQ files, your sequence file, the MP3 file, all image files if you use them, all shader files if you've used those, and all video files if you've used them. Now, that's manually doing it. You physically have to go pick out each and every single one. But I think the easiest way to get your sequence that you're working off of out of your, physically out of your xLights computer and transfer it, we use the package sequence function. Now, package sequence came along back in 2016. It was an easy way to gather up images that were associated with your sequence, and it also recorded the specific file structure of the computer and where those should be located. And it made a nice, neat package to not overuse the term, and it put everything into a zip folder. So to create a package sequence, the first thing that I would do is I would have my sequence xLights open and I would have the sequence open. I really don't know if it's necessary to render or not, but I always render first. And then I click Tools and Package Sequence. It's that simple. So what this does is this xLights will now go through, it will zip up a folder and it will add to that folder your RGB effects file for you, your network file, your sequence.xsq. It will add the MP3 for you. There's a setting that shuts that off for folks like me who don't, or who are unable, we're not able to share MP3s through like the website. So we're not allowed to share those, but you're able to take that along and it packages up with it. And it also packages all images, videos, and shader files, and also other files too that are a little bit older that maybe not as common or aware. ISEQ files, I think that was one of the older files, but for the most part, these are the files that you would expect to have, and xLights will do it naturally for you. Now, this allows you to recreate the sequence on another machine as if you're working on it on the original machine, and it's a really, really nice feature. So transferring the sequences, well, now that you have this package sequence, you can see here we're in our xLights show folder. Here we have our package sequence after we went through tools, package sequence. Now we can go ahead and save this folder, this zip folder, onto a second computer. And we do that by using a thumb drive. So basically shove the thumb drive in the USB port and transfer the package sequence over onto that. So now you go ahead and open up over on your other computer the thumb drive, and you drag out the package sequence onto a show or a folder location on that computer. So the next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to extract the zip file, or in other words, you're going to need to unpackage it. So you packaged it up. Now we're unpackaging it on the computer that you're going to take with you and go enjoy. Well, what we'll do is we'll unpack it by physically clicking on the file. And when you do, if you're in Windows, you'll have this tab up here that says Compressed Folders Tools. You can click on this tab, and then over here is this button that says Extract All. So once you follow those steps, once you're in the location, you can then right click and extract as well. but I always like to use this image here as a way to easily extract it. And the Windows does all the work. Whenever you click extract, or whenever you extract all, this next box will come up that says extract compressed zip folders. Select the destination and extract the files. So basically what I've done here is I'm just putting this into a new folder somewhere else on my new computer, or my sequence computer for my laptop or whatever. And it's going to extract it, and it's going to call it the same name of the sequence. It's going to create a folder. And then, so this is what happens after you finish that process. It creates a folder in the exact place that you tell it to, and you'll notice that it's the exact same name of the sequence that you packaged up. From this point, what we need to do now is we need to make sure that this second computer has xLights on it. You want to make sure that the xLights is the same version or a newer version that you were using initially on the other computer. You want to make sure you download xLights and put it on there, install it. And then you want to open it up and then click on the Change Permanently button on the controller tab. And what this does is this allows you to open up and select the show directory that you're going to be working in. So what we'll do now is we'll navigate to the newly created folder with your sequence's name, and then click on the select folder button. So that's this select show directory select button. Then after you have navigated xLights on your laptop to this new directory, the second thing you're going to do is you're going to open your sequence by clicking the File Open button or File and Open Sequence button. And then you're going to render your sequence. If you just click play and you click on any of the images, videos, or shader effects, then what xLights will do is it will display something in red. This red designates that xLights can't find the path. So rendering the sequence before you play it will fix those file structure or broken paths for the video, the images, and the shaders. It will fix it so that it recognizes this new computer file structure, and it should play as normal. And this is after unpacking the sequence. So there are a couple pros and cons to packaging sequences and using this kind of a transfer. Well, the pros are you can the process is easy. Like anybody could do this. It takes a second to create a package sequence. Any computer user's skill level, they can figure this out. This is the easy part. All files are usually are very neatly packed. You can pick up exactly where you left off. I'm sure this isn't obviously an exhaustive list, but there's a number of pros to being able to easily extract your sequence from one computer and place it on another. However, there is a downside to doing this, and this is one of the most frustrating reasons of sequencing on multiple computers, which we're going to address here in a little bit. Some of the cons are you created an alternate version different from the original that's on your other computer, and now you have to package on the new computer and transfer the sequence back and place it onto the old computer. Now you have to go in and import the original, the package sequence into your original sequence, or you just abandon your original sequence and now you have to create a new sequence and import from the zip folder. Now, is that hard? No, that's not hard. It's just a bunch of extra steps. However, if you're a computer challenged person, this can be confusing because you're doing a lot of dancing with files. If you're not a file logic file based person, and if you have challenges with trying to keep your files organized in your computers, believe me, we've seen all types of people, and some people just it's a little harder for some people to navigate. This can be one of the challenges for using this file transfer method, but the method does work. You just have to take your time with it. It is the simplest way to transfer all files in one neat package, and you'll just have to work to put the sequence back into your main computer. That's really the biggest challenge whenever it comes to transferring these files. So with that, this is the end of part one. If anybody has any questions, by all means, go ahead and unmute your microphone, and I'm happy to talk about these right now if you're ready. And I paused recording if anybody would like to ask a question on the first section. Is there anything that people people are having a challenge with as far as understanding these basics, as far as just getting the sequence off of the computer and put it on another one? Okay, looks like everybody's got this. It's not hard content. It's just for people who are challenged with computers, it can be frustrating. So I'm going to hit the record button again, and we're going to move on. There we go. All right, so we're going to get started with our second part of tonight's webinar. In this section of the webinar, we're going to talk about using xLights with cloud-based storage and how you can use one computer to sequence on multiple computers with, and some of the challenges associated with that. So if you've watched part one, and we are live right now in Zoom and we're on Facebook Live, but if you followed along with part one, the biggest challenge with part one is that the computer and the laptop, let's say, are not connected, they're not networked, and you need to get all the data from one to the other. Services such as cloud storage-based services, things that you're familiar with, which are Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, iCloud, any number of, I mean, there's like limitless options here for you to go in and begin using different services. What I've learned over the past, I would say 12 years, is that this cloud-based storage has been a great help in everything that I've done, not just professionally with Pixel Pro displays, but also with whenever I was in college. It was easy. It was so easy to transfer files. I mean, I would spend all day in class. This is 2010. I'd spend all day in class, and then I'd get home and all of my homework or all of my stuff had automatically synced up with my desktop. So what we're going to talk about in this section is learning about cloud-based storage and how that's going to work with inside xLights. So the first thing that you're going to do is you probably are going to look at doing something like this. So a number of people already have some services that they utilize. Some, Google offers free for a certain amount. You get it automatically free with your Gmail, or you get some free because, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But basically, you're installing their cloud storage application on. You're installing that on your computer. Once you install it, you're able to easily share between devices that you sign your account into. You're able to use your phone and upload documents and emails and such, not emails, but documents from your emails or pictures and such. You can easily upload and download from any file location. Files saved in the designated folder will sync to all devices. But it does require an internet connection. So if you have, let's say, for example, a laptop, and that laptop is sitting off in your backpack or in your suitcase, or your briefcase or whatever, and you don't use it very much, you only use it whenever you're out on the road for whatever reason. So that's one of the things that you want to do is you're only going to get the most up-to-date data and syncing whenever that device is connected to the internet and able to receive that sync data. Files are physically located on your computer's disk drive. One of the things that I heard in the past, people have said that, well, I don't want to use cloud-based storage. They have all my files and stuff, and they're not actually on my computer. Well, they actually are on your computer. They're located in a file directly on your hard drive. And the only person that is going to delete them, or possibly, I mean, not saying something can't happen, but in most cases, the only person that's going to delete them is you. So it's nice to have these cloud-based storage functions that you're able to use on different platforms and be able to sync without having to worry about having multiple backups. Notes about cloud-based storage. Well, generally the services do come at a price. Generally they do. I know we pay $12 a month for Dropbox. I've been using Dropbox since 2009. I am very happy with it. We have a subscription to Office 360, and they include 1 terabyte of storage, and I think we pay like $10 a month or something silly like that. It's like ridiculously low. There are a number of other services. Rob found this little kind of model, this little page here on the internet, sent it to me earlier, and I thought, this is great, I'll add this in. If you're looking for cloud-based storage, you can obviously do a couple Google searches and find a couple different brands if you are looking to do this. I am not very familiar with how to do this without having cloud-based storage. In other words, like a free version. The free versions that I've seen are very limited with capacity, like they give you 5 terabytes maximum, maybe 10, I don't know. But it all depends, not terabytes, but gigabytes. So it's enough to kind of get you going. But the longer you're in this and the more files you accrue, you kind of end up jumping in and paying for the service, which I've always actually, this is one subscription I've always been happy to pay for because it's been ridiculously helpful. Another thing, as I said, these files are stored on your computer. So it's important that your computer has the available storage to take full advantage of it. If it doesn't, that's okay. You're just limited to how much you can save on that computer by how big that hard drive or that secondary drive is in the system. For example, if your laptop, let's say, has a 500 gigabyte hard drive, but your service allows for 1 terabyte, you can only synchronize or sync so much data or so many files into your 500 gigabyte drive. It doesn't turn your drive into a bigger drive. It just limits you to what you're able to download. And then whenever you get, let's say, sufficiently full, or your capacity begins to fill on that drive, they will send you a notification saying your system is full, please upgrade your hard drive, or you're going to need to create more storage, or you're going to have to clear out some files, one or the other, make arrangements in other words. So now let's kind of talk about xLights and cloud storage services as far as physically what I have been using over the past at least 5 years. But I took this screenshot earlier today. On the left is the computer that we're working off of right now, and on the right is Rob's desktop, which he shared his screen, and I quickly grabbed this screenshot. And basically, I wanted to show you that since we do use Dropbox, this is what we do use. We set the default storage location to the exact same location on all our computers. I'm a computer goofball. I love computers. So I have a show computer. It's across the room over there. And I only run it for the show. I have a secondary backup computer. It's in another room. And it literally only runs whenever I need to do a lot of rendering. So it's the second computer that I can just render a bunch of sequences on, and I can keep working on my main desktop. So all of these are set up exactly the same. So it doesn't matter if I'm sitting here, or I'm sitting over at my show computer, or I'm sitting in the other room where my backup computer is. I can open and I can render any sequence on any one of those computers, just as Rob can from his house. He can open and render any of our sequences from his computer desktop, my computer desktop, any of the computers on our network. We're all set up the exact same. And the reason for this is we use what is called the D drive. We use a secondary internal storage drive, and we added these after building our system. Now, if you have a laptop, some laptops can't have a secondary hard drive added to them. But if the drive is sufficiently large, you may be able to do something called partitioning. Now, I'm not going to teach how to partition a hard drive. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that teach you how to do that. But suffice to say, you could partition your hard drive, an existing hard drive, and allocate so many gigabytes to that will allow you to store your xLights sequences on them. So this is a rather advanced process. Again, I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, but it is an option. If you need to or you'd like to do that, you're able to. But in our case, we've always used a secondary hard drive. We call it the D drive, and we store everything in exactly the same place. That way, either of us can access our files from any location, and again, able to render it from any machine. So the default storage locations, here's a few notes on default storage location. You can use the C drive, C:// and for example, Dropbox. It could be, I will say Dropbox because that's what I use, but you could also say OneDrive or any of the other iCloud or Amazon, whatever you want, whatever server it is just replace it with that. So one of the things that I have learned in the past, I have learned to avoid using the My Documents folder or my desktop folder, because the name of your PC, whenever you create it, or whenever you open or you set up a new PC, you typically have to give that PC a name. And this actually creates a user in Windows. Well, as you can see here, I have 3 different names, and this is why this is important, and this is why it's challenging in order to use these cloud-based storage so that you can synchronize across different locations. We typically avoid using these the documents or the desktop folder or the My Pictures or whatever desktop type folder that you want to use. And the reason we avoid this is because when you create your computer's name, whenever you boot up Windows and you give it a name or you give it a profile, it gives you a C:/users, and then under the users, it gives you a name that you're going to be working under. That way you're accessing your files, and if somebody else is a different user and they switch users, then they have a C users somebody else. And in this instance, these are the three computers that I have here at my house. I have what I call PPD main. That happens to be this computer that I'm teaching from tonight. The second one here, it says RELXE. That totally misspelled it whenever I was setting it up, but that's okay. Life goes on. And it was this is my show computer. And then you see where I have desktop, Dropbox, xLights. Then here you see I have users, xLights, which is my show name, which is the backup computer that I have to run any kind of sequence rendering that I need to do. So I have 3 different file paths, and this is the problem with using the documents and the desktop folder locations for your cloud storage base. The reason this is a challenge is because xLights uses different folder path names, and whenever it does, you're not going to be able to find the related files that go with the sequence. So if I open up, if we used documents or desktop as our home location, this is the problem or the challenge that you'll face with. If you're using something that's inside Windows, what will happen is if you go from your PPD main to xLights, those 2 folders are 2 different computers. You go from one computer to another. One computer will have this file structure on it right here. And then the other computer, whenever you open it, will have this file structure here. And it will not be able to find the shaders, the video files, and the images that are attached to the original sequence. And what you will have to do is a lot of referencing for those just to make them work. Now, is it hard? No, but it creates a frustration for a lot of users, especially computer people who are not as computer savvy as others. So xLights does record the last known location and file path. Opening up a sequence on a different computer with a different file path will cause issues. Broken file paths. Now now, thanks to the most recent versions of xLights last year of 2021, it will prompt you with an error saying unable to find these list of files or these images or these videos. Please run a check sequence for a complete list, and it gives you a couple. So xLights will now prompt you whenever it opens if it can't find, or it has broken file paths that it can't find. Finally, if you do hit the render button, anything that renders as red means it can't be found. That means images, pictures, and shaders. So I know it's kind of a downfall if you are computer challenged, but the upside is that if you are good with computers, the more you work with them, it can be rather successful for you. So, and whenever I say long-term success, I do talk about Rob having his computer and me having mine. And for the past 5 years, we've been able to easily share files back and forth because we have a shared file that we run all of our sequences into. He's able to open and render as well as I am, and it doesn't matter who's using what computer. Now, I will say, as a pro and con, which I did not add in here, that I will say that one of the cons, I'll start with the cons, because if I open up a sequence and I make a change to it and I have it open on my machine, and Rob opens up the exact same sequence and makes a change on it on his machine, there's no way for me to know that he's doing that. So it's probably a good idea that one person only edits one type of document. If you're in one layout and somebody else is in the other layout, you don't want to be making changes, because if I make a change and he makes a change, whoever saved the save button last, their change is going to be saved. So that's a con. I will say that. I kind of forgot to bring that out. But a couple of the pros, absolutely the biggest, without a doubt, hands down pro, is automatically syncing files. You never need to manually transfer a file, like, ever. Anytime you want to share something, you can typically do a right click and select a file and copy a Dropbox link or a link to it and share it with anybody. And it's super easy. It's really nice to have it. Again, open, render, and save on any sequence on any computer across any of our devices. As long as it's set up identically on all machines, it does work, and it works very well. Some services offer backup protection. That's another thing. If you need to retrieve lost or misdeleted files, you're able to go back and do that. I did that 1 year with my in 2010 or 2011 with my Lightorama sequences. I went in and I deleted the file folder on Dropbox, and I didn't realize it because my Dropbox was getting full. I wasn't paying for the service. That was 2011. I wasn't paying for the service, and I deleted a whole branch with nothing but all my 2010 sequences. And luckily, over at my mother's house, I'd taken over to her house a backup computer, and I was running a nice little show in her yard, and it was synchronized with it wasn't synchronized, it was turned off for the season, and I was able to get all of my sequences off of that computer. Thank goodness I didn't connect it to the internet or erased it, but that was definitely a positive thing, having multiple computers with that. So back to the cons. So most cloud storage services charge a monthly fee. They can be confusing for folks who are much more computer challenged. That's just the way it is. You know, if you want to do the fancy stuff, take your time with setting it up, as we talked about earlier, and make sure you have sufficient storage. Adding a second storage drive is a big deal. That's how we've set up ours. It works very well for us. I definitely recommend doing that. The nice thing is having a second storage drive. You're not worried about overfilling your computer's main or your laptop's main hard drive. And if you're able to do that, then by all means, then you're able to expand as large as you need to. And computers, obviously, too, this is kind of a con. If the computers are not online, they won't sync. So at this point, my laptop is in my backpack, and I have no need to get it out because I'm not planning on making any trips until we go to St. Louis and until we go to the Florida Mini. So hope to see you all there. But whenever it comes time to go, I need to open up my laptop like 2 or 3 days ahead of time and let it download all of the changes and updates and so forth. So that's the one kind of downside. to not having everything kind of set up if you do have a laptop you keep offline for a while. So with that, that is the end of using cloud storage within xLights. Let me know if you have any questions. By all means, go ahead and unmute your microphone. And I'm going to stop the audio. I'll look up at the questions real quick here. So John said there's a couple folks are trying to work at getting xSchedule back into the Mac computers. Yeah, it'd be nice to have xSchedule for across all the platforms for sure. Somebody asked, can it just be copied? I do not know who asked that. Directory should be, says Stephen Stern. Hello, Stephen. Directories should be the same for both machines in order for the rendering of the images, video shaders. Correct? Yes, absolutely. Charles Smith says Microsoft OneDrive. Yes, I don't really use it. I don't have it set up, but I mean, we do have it. So Sam Gibson, you got the shits with the cloud yesterday and totally deleted off the computer. I haven't had that happen, honestly. The only thing that I ever screwed up was deleting my 2011 show, and I didn't mean to do it. I thought I had a hard copy and I didn't. So luckily I had that spare computer that saved my life. Dwayne, does having the show folder online slow down FPP Connect when transferring to Raspberry Pi and remotes? It should not slow down anything with FPP. So if you're running FPP and you do FPP Connect should be sending the sequence files that are necessary, the packets to each of the FPP units. I'm not an FPP person, so by all means, people can correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah, but still, when you do FPP Connect, you're syncing with your local folder. When you have online storage, unless you, like in Dropbox, you can select it to be online only and it doesn't save it locally. Most of the time you're going to save one-to-one. So what I mean by that is if you save abc.zip to your local hard drive, it should sync to your Dropbox, OneDrive, whatever it is, abc.zip. So the only thing it's doing is recreating a duplicate out there in the cloud. So then when you log into your secondary laptop or whatever it may be, you're grabbing that file from the web and it's syncing it back to the local hard drive of that new computer, just like Clyde's showing here. So the FPP Connect shouldn't slow down unless A, you have to download the files onto the new computer because you just started it up, or B, you might have it set to online only where the computer only uses those files whenever you touch those or open those in xLights, then it downloads it to the computer. So still, in the way that speeds are nowadays, unless you have really terrible internet, you're probably still not even going to notice a difference because like it's not going to let you open it in xLights until it's on your local machine because it's not going to go out to the cloud and use it from there or what have you.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to the cloud to get anything. The only thing that happens on the cloud is, well, the two things that happen on the cloud. Number one is it's saving it there as another place for backup. So, and what do I mean by that? Here's my phone. If I want to access data that is on my cloud storage, I can pull it onto my phone, but it's not located on my phone. On my computer, it's physically located on my computer. On my show computer, it's physically located on my show computer. So there was, I believe, a time period when somebody was sequencing and using a thumb drive as a backup, or possibly a off-site storage or off-computer storage, maybe like a server, that they were saving their sequences to. They were sequencing from a file on their server. And so whenever it would render, it would have to ask or recall that data from the server, and it added a longer render time. So if you do save files let's say you're sequencing from a thumb drive, which you can, you're just creating a little bit more confusion for yourself whenever you switch back and take it and put it into your main computer. You have to change all your file paths. If you use a lot of video shaders and picture files. If not, if you just use native xLights effects and don't use any of those files whatsoever, then it's usually not a problem. That's because there is no file structure associated with the effects. It's just data at that point. So let's see. John says the show folder is stored locally, so no, yes. Can sequences just copy to another computer as a backup? Yes, you can. You can absolutely go in here. I'll show you before we go ahead and start. If you have any other questions, you can unmute microphone or ask. So if this is my show folder, so here's all my FSEQs. If I wanted to go into my show folders and I wanted to save this file, yes, absolutely. These are FSEQs. So here's my sequences. I could right click and I could copy these or I could send to, if I had an SD card saved in my computer or a thumb drive, I could send it to that, or I could copy it to that. That's not a big deal. That's a way to back up a copy of it. Another way, like here's your backups. I have a number of backups here, or I have my archives. So we talked about that in other videos. But that's the audio archive. There we go. 20 archive layouts. There's 2015, 16, 17, 18, all of them from the past few years. So you can copy these and move these onto anything. Again, if you have pictures, files, or shaders that are associated with any of those sequences and you move those to another computer, they're going to need the pointed in the right direction. The best way to transfer them is to hit package sequence. That way you don't have to worry about it. Let's see. Charles said, my cloud home, if you don't want to pay a monthly fee, use a storage device at the house that is networked. Okay, so I knew that there would be a number of free services or free availabilities that you could come up with. I don't disagree, and I have never used them. I've just gotten so used to paying for it that this is, and it works because between Robert and I, him being across the way down there and I'm being way up here, it makes it kind of easier because we're on separate networks. But if you're doing it from your home, by all means, you can check out that suggestion there, my cloud home, if you don't want to pay a monthly fee. So that's great. Let me go ahead.
Clive,
yeah, Robert.
Before you move on, that's where I've been having the challenge, because I had a laptop before, and then just before Christmas, I got another laptop of which I was transferring stuff and using the cloud base. But just like you rightfully said, I was doing the C drive, but each laptop had its own name. And so therefore, whenever I tried to open the sequence on the other laptop, it just was not going the way it was supposed to go, and therefore I had to do the packaging and send it across. The part I'm just trying to be clear about is it that you are creating a partitioned drive on each laptop and then just using that as a D. So it's D. So like I use OneDrive. So I'm just creating D OneDrive and then just putting everything into that drive on both laptops.
And that pretty much sounds like that solved your problem.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that's I was also going to say you use both Windows and Mac, do you not?
No, I use both Windows for the laptops, but I use a iPad or iPhone whenever I'm just using xLights to tweak the show whenever I'm outside of the house.
Okay, I understand. I thought for whatever reason I was thinking that you use both Mac and Windows. So
no.
I knew you did something with Apple.
Yeah, but just one other question there, Clyde, is that when you're pointing now the X schedule to run the show, it's coming off of the cloud or off of the laptop itself.
So in this, that's what we'll get into in this section.
Oh, okay, good.
But specifically to answer your question, on my show computer that's over there, I render my sequence from my show folder on this computer that I'm working on. I render them and I save them and I sequence them and I do all of my importing and such, right? Whenever I create the FSEQ here, the FSEQ gets synced with the drive over there on that computer. xSchedule is pointed at that computer's file location to pull that data. So let's say I'm working on, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and I was outside and I saw a terrible part of it that I wanted to fix. I come in here, I open it and I render it, and I fix the part I want to fix. I add something, I make a little more pizzazz, I save it, it creates a new FSEQ file, and then that FSEQ file gets synced. And the next time that xSchedule grabs that FSEQ and puts it in its cache, it says it just grabs the newest version. So sometimes it will miss it one turn, but then it'll pick it up on the next turn.
Oh, okay.
So it automatically adds it to my show. It automatically updates it.
So the other computer is actually pulling that FSEQ file off of its own system. It's just because you updated it, it synced it. Okay. Gotcha.
Correct. So Rob tried to explain this to me, like he said, it's kind of like your show computer is running off of FPP Connect. Whenever you render it on this computer, the other computer automatically gets the data. It's kind of that same mentality. It won't use the new data until it recycles its cache for that song the next time it's played in the playlist. But once it receives it, it continues to use that file. Now that file is stored locally on that hard drive, and all Dropbox does, or all these cloud-based storages do, is synchronize data. That's all it's doing. It's synchronizing the data from this computer. Oh, new copy, it just saved it. I'm gonna push that, the cloud pushes that up, sends it out into the world, and then connects to any device that's logged in and says, here, update this file with this new change. And that's what it's doing for me.
Okay, that's good.
Jim Nealon's got a couple comments. Let's see. There are two things in play here: sequencing on two computers and backing up to a second computer or offline storage. I suspect that may be confusing some folks. No, that certainly could be the case. That's why it's really challenging to write content for this, because how do you talk about file structure without knowing the file structure? How do you talk about that's why you have these conversations, because if you don't, you have to have them long form. You can't just this is why it took me like 25 minutes to make a video on it back in the like a year and a half ago, because I have all the content from there, and I just said no, I've got to start from scratch. You're not sequencing from Dropbox, that's correct, but using automatic backup and download via Dropbox, basically yes. Dropbox is just being used as an automatic synchronization tool, which is exactly what we just discussed. So
yeah, again, we have to remember that you're not uploading to Dropbox. Well, you are, but it happens from your local hard drive. Mm-hmm. So you're just saving to your local hard drive, and Dropbox is a tool, like Jim said, that just synchronizes all it does. So it sees that you save something new on your computer, and it says, oh, I should back that up. Now, when you log into your next computer, it reaches out to Dropbox and says, oh, there's 25 new files. I'm going to go get those. And if you look, like when you first log into your computer, you'll see that it's like Dropbox turns gray and it has like this little emblem on it. If you hover over it, it'll say like it's syncing. And that's what it's doing, is it goes through and it's just reading all the text data, more or less, of what may have changed. And then if it sees a change, it grabs those new files and does it. So really, you're not doing anything different than what you would do on your computer without any of these programs, without Dropbox, OneDrive, iDrive, any of those. So you could take those programs and just throw them away and just sequence. But this option is to A, back up your system, and B, to be able to sequence or use multiple computers for your show and stuff like that. Not, I don't want to confuse you. Use multiple computers where if you're rendering on one computer, maybe your other computer's the show computer, like Clyde was talking about, and it's automatically updating those files. So again, just like Jim said and Clyde was saying, it is a tool that synchronizes and backs up what files you have. And then whatever computers you have attached to that service will also have those files on it if you allow them to download.
All right, any other questions? I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Go ahead and hit the record button. So we're back, and welcome to this third part of the video. Actually, this is a kind of a standalone video, but it goes with all the content that we've talked about in part 1 and part 2 of the webinar tonight. One of the questions that gets asked very frequently is, I want to run xSchedule on a laptop that's going to sit in my garage, but it's not going to be connected to the internet. I just want to put, I don't want my main computer to run xSchedule and run my show. I want to be able to play on my computer, but I have a spare, I have an old laptop. And this question is, oh boy, there we go. Oh man, there we go. I want to run my show on a laptop from my garage. I don't want to use my main computer to run xLights. How do I do that? I hope that I can make this as simple as possible for everybody who's going to follow along. And I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. And then we'll actually try to do a demo after we get it done. And hopefully that will come out just as splendidly as the test went that I did earlier. So first, what we're going to do is on this new computer that you're going to set up and run for your show, the most important thing is the computer needs to be set up to run your show. And to do that, you can watch this video up here that I'm pointing up to the top of the screen. I don't know, one of those corners. And by all means, check out the video there on setting up the network. And there, I'm not going to do those steps in this video because I want to keep this brief, but basically we're going to go into Windows network connections. We're going to click on the Ethernet section. I'm assuming that you're running a wired network connection from your show. You may be doing this with Wi-Fi. You can do that with the Wi-Fi adapter if that's how you're going to do it. You then assign it to assign your IP TCP/IP version 4 to an IP address that matches your show network IP configuration. And if the network is not set up, the lights won't flash. So make sure you get this set up first. But let's talk specifically about the files necessary. Now, if you didn't watch the previous 2 videos, then the basic things that we really need from xLights, we need to select the following files. They are your xlights_network.xml file, any of your sequence.fseq files, and then also any MP3 audio files for these FSEQs that you're selecting to do in your show. And then something I didn't add into here was any video files that maybe you're going to play or other MP3 files that you're going to be playing that will be part of the show, maybe not part of a sequence, but it might be part of an after show or before show. Finally, place all of these files onto a thumb drive and save them there. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to roll along and we're going to go from our main computer. Let's say we're using a laptop in your garage and you're going to plug that thumb drive into your USB port and you're going to create a new folder, a new show folder. It doesn't matter what you call this. You can call this xLights if you want, but you're going to create this new folder. And then from there, you're going to grab all of the xLights network file, the one xLights network file. That's the only file you really need. You need the FSEQ files that are your sequence files, and then you need your MP3 files, and then finally any other files that you plan on playing that you need to have in there as well. You'll need those. From here, we're going to make sure that we install xLights. Now, make sure whenever you go to xlights.org that you go to the download page and scroll and find the one that you sequence, the same xLights version that you sequenced from on the main computer. Most likely you're using an updated version, but if you had stopped at a version, you want to use the same version to run your show from. That way the compatibility between xSchedule and xLights should be good, and you shouldn't run into any issues whatsoever. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to open xSchedule. After you've downloaded and installed xSchedule, there'll be an icon on your desktop, or actually xLights. xSchedule will be a file or an icon that's on your desktop. You can double click and open it. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click on File, select Show Folder. You can see that here on the screen. The second thing we'll do is we'll navigate to the saved folder location that you just created. So we're going to look for that file location with all those files that you just slammed in there, your FSEQ files, your MP3s, and your network file. Then after you've selected or found that folder, you want to hit Select Folder. The next step is you should now see your controllers. This should be your entire controller list. Now, if these show up in green, that means that your network is set up, that xSchedule can see those controllers. Now, in this case, this is a screenshot from my main desktop, which there's no controllers, but that is my FSEQ file from that is my network file from my home show. And obviously it's not going to find it because this computer isn't set up to be on the show. But if it turns green, that means you know you have the network set up correctly. The next thing we'll do is we're going to add a playlist. Now, I have another video on YouTube that we did a few weeks ago that is creating playlist in xSchedule. We'll go ahead and link it up there. By all means, go check out that video if you need more specific information, because we're not going to do all of this in detail. The next thing we'll do is we're going to click the add a playlist or add an FSEQ, and this is this icon over here, or you can hit add FSEQ plus video or add audio only. So you don't have to just choose FSEQs, but FSEQ is what we're going to test with so that you can see that it does in fact work. The next thing we'll do is we'll click OK. After we've added our sequence or our FSEQ file, just click OK. And that closes and takes you back to xSchedule. Now we're going to test the playlist. And in order to test the playlist, we're going to click on the playlist. We're physically going to select it. And in this case, I have this test playlist. Next, what we'll do is we'll click the play selected, and that's this button down here. So once this is selected and you hit play selected, you'll notice that a green highlight comes up over here. It will, anytime you hit play selected, xLights will play or show the currently playing selection. At this point, you should hear music. Now, if there's no music playing, then we need to go back and do something different in our playlist. So we're going to rewind a little bit. We're going to go back in and we're going to select that playlist, return back to the playlist. We're going to click on the FSEQ that is not playing the MP3, which in this instance would be this one. You would select it. After you've selected it, click the override audio box, which is right here. And then once you do, that activates the audio file browse location. When you sequence a song in xLights, it records the original location where it thought the music was saved at. Well, if you've moved to a laptop or a different computer, it's a different file structure. So now we're going to manually tell it, hey, browse to this location. And then all you have to do, click on the browse button, it'll open up and you can go search your computer for the exact location where that MP3 is. And then you click OK. And once you found it, once you do that, click the OK button and then go back to the beginning here, select the playlist, hit the play selected button, and you should see this play green and you should now hear some audio working. I'm going to hopefully attempt to do this poorly on my computer here in xLights. And to do so, I am going to end my PowerPoint presentation. And I'm going to do this simply by creating a brand new file folder. And I'm going to call this xSchedule. So this is literally a file folder just to test xSchedule and to prove to you that it can be done. Not a big deal. It's going to be rather easy. I'm going to actually have xSchedule open because the last thing I did before we started the webinar tonight was I took screenshots, and this is where this came from. So I'm just going to close xSchedule. I'm going to bring the icon over here so you can see when we open it. And the other thing I'm going to do is hopefully I am going to find, let's see, one of my test sequences from, let's see, is there one in here? Is there an FSEQ file in here? Let's see, no FSEQs. I mean, I can always do one of mine, but I was really hoping for one that I'd already done. How about Lindsay Sterling? Oh, it's on the pro layout. I really want something. So I have a flake in here. Here's an FSEQ. Okay, so we'll do this one. This was some flakes that I was messing around with. And all I'm doing now is just grabbing, here's the FSEQ. I am grabbing my network file, and now I need the song Christmas Without You, and that would be under my music folder, which is here. Max, Christmas Without You. Okay, bam. So just those 3 files, that's literally all I'm putting over there. And that's right here in this xSchedule. Oh, popped up over here. I should put it over here. Here we go. So those are the 3 files that we're going to work with. And hopefully I don't look like a fool after this is done. So we're going to open up xSchedule. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to switch our file directories. As I said earlier, we're going to select the show folder that we're going to put this onto. Now I put this in the desktop. Where's the desktop at? Desktop, and I called this xSchedule testing. Okay, so this is the folder that we're working out of. This is as if you're on your laptop. Now you have nothing in your playlist. There's nothing there. We're going to create a playlist by clicking the add button. The screen popped up over here. We're going to name it test. And I should have added, while it was in here, an FSEQ, and click the open button. So now it's created this playlist. I don't know why it deleted the name, but it did. Oh, well, maybe it would help if I'll just delete that other one. There we go. So we've got a playlist. We've got the sequence right there. Now, all we have to do is we have it selected, and we'll go ahead and push play selected. So you see right away, I don't see my controllers here. So let's see where my controllers are. Oh, because that folder didn't have any controllers in it. That's why. So how about this? We'll do it off of mine. So let's go in, close out of xSchedule. We will delete these files because I just realized that didn't have any sequences whatsoever, or didn't have a network file. It did, but there was nothing in it. So let's try that again. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in and we'll create this folder called xSchedule testing. We'll come in and we'll grab right off of my show schedule or my show player, my actual show directory. We'll grab a XML called RGB network file. So I'm just going to, whoops, copy that over. And then next I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to find one FSEQ. There's the Ava Max. Oh, there's Ava Max Christmas Without You. And now we need that MP3 that I already deleted out of there. Ava Max, there she is. And there's the MP3. So that's in this folder right here. At least I hope it is. Yep, there it is. It's in that folder. Now we'll open up xSchedule. And as you can see, we had already changed the show directory. We selected the show folder and it's on xSchedule testing. That's this folder right here, xSchedule testing. And what happened was xLights found my network file. We'll go ahead and create a new playlist. We'll call this tests. And we'll come down here and add FSEQ. It's going to select, there's the one FSEQ sequence. We'll click OK, and we can hit reset schedules. We can select the schedule, the playlist, and we can hit play. Now, Windows or YouTube has a way of not of canceling charging you with mute. And you might not be able to hear it. Well, you'll be able to hear it on YouTube, but you can see it bouncing up and down, and clearly the MP3 is playing. And if this were on my laptop and my show were connected, this would all be lit up green like a Christmas tree. That's as simple as it is. And all you need to do is just select all your FSEQ files, place them in here. You don't need your RGB effects file. You just need your network file. You just need all your FSEQs and your MP3s that you're going to play in your show. The other thing that's nice about this is, well, unfortunately, we talked about it earlier during the break that having a service such as Dropbox is nice. It would synchronize if you made a change to something, but you would manually have to change them out in this case. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for us here tonight with the last section of the PPD webinar. I will say, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat below. If you haven't done yet so, hit the big red subscribe button down below. If you like the content, make sure you hit the like button. And if you appreciate the content that we produce here consistently at the PPD YouTube channel, as well as the PPD website, consider becoming a monthly sequence club member. It would mean the world to us, where you get one monthly sequence brand new to the store each and every month, and makes it totally worth it to join. So guys, that's everything from me here at Pixel Pro Displays. We will catch you next time. Take care. And that's the end of that one. Do you guys have any questions about what we talked about tonight? Any questions?
I'm going to cut the live stream. If you guys would like to join us here live in Zoom, just go ahead and follow the link that's out there in the PPU group and the PPD business page.